Well, welcome everyone to the January Aging Well. And I say it with a lot more, gratitude this time than I've probably ever said it before. And for those of you who tried to join us last week, none of us have any idea what happened. The link should have been good for another 12 months. So anyway, sometimes you just have to sit back and go, okay, the universe is in charge. And for whatever reason, we weren't supposed to do Aging Well last Tuesday. My husband, Don, is in the house. We're in the house doing this. And he came in after he figured out what was going on. And he goes, I figured you were going to be in here losing your mind. And I went, no, because sometimes when you can't figure out what's going on, you just have to go, well, that is that. I grew up in Vicksburg, Mississippi, and I was telling Don about this, that it used to be, now this was again 350 years ago, when we had two channels before we even got ABC, got the third channel. But if there were technical difficulties, this little cartoon would come on. And it would be this little animal going, well, it's not you, it's not me, it must be them. So all I can say is it wasn't you. I don't know that it was us. So we're just going to say it was them last week. So thank you so much for those of you who hung in there with us and joined us again today. I promise we're going to make it worth your while. Whenever we get started, I always have to thank our team. And that's always Tom Roth with our CTSI, Courtney Hayes with our Pepper Center on Aging, and Audrey Bell Farrow with our Alzheimer's Disease Research Center. This is the team behind the scenes. Y'all see me. I've got the easy job. I just get to visit with you. They're the ones doing the work behind the scenes. So I'm in this super, super heavy sweater today because, last week we had snow, and now this week we have, what is it, the polar vortex that's come down. I don't know what that is, but I just know it is so cold outside. So I hope y'all are all staying safe and warm. And we're going to still do some fun things. We're going to share some fun activities, but I want to get started with something that, is kind of near and dear to my heart, especially when we go out, like my husband and I'll go out with other people. I'll usually be the designated driver, which means I don't drink anything except maybe a glass of iced tea. And, everybody else is having these fun little flirty cocktails with fruit and different things in them. And I thought, well, what about us designated drivers, or what about those of us who just don't drink at all? So I love that it's this new groundswell, really across all society that, I think people are finally waking up to realize there are probably more teetotalers out there than they are drinkers. So anyway, now it's become a thing to have mocktails instead of cocktails. So I thought it would be fun. So instead of eating well for this segment, we are drinking well for this segment. And on the other side of it, I'm going to tell you, since they were non-alcoholic, we were getting to sample them as the sweet man was making them. And I'm just going to tell you, they are wonderful. So Chris Smith is the mixologist for the Mayfair Group, a hospitality group, and he's the manager of Miller's on Trade, a fun new place down on Trade Street. So without further ado, you're going to hear a beautiful Scottish brogue when Chris tells us how to make these mocktails.
Thanks, Deb. It's great to be part of Aging Well. Your first cocktail, or shall I say mocktail, that I'm going to put together for you today is a Shirley Temple. Very simple, easy to do at home. We've got a little bit of grenadine in the bottom of a wine glass. And then fill her up with ice. Simple but classic. Some starry. Some nice lemon and lime soda in there for us. And then some Bada Bing cherries, which you can get at the grocery store. And that one is the most simple yet effective and delicious of our mocktails here at Miller's. There we go. And then I'm going to make one that we came up with here at Miller's, is a Miller's Punch. This one again is simple but delicious. We're going to start off with an ounce of, it's a rosemary simple syrup. We make that here. It is equal parts water, sugar, and then a nice big handful of rosemary. We let it steep for a couple of hours, and it gives you this lovely flavored simple syrup. We've got an ounce of this. And then we have an ounce and a half of orange juice. And an ounce and a half of pineapple juice. And we give this a nice little shake. And then nice garnish of an orange and some bada bing cherries, and then just a little bit of cherry juice on top. And as you can see, this is anything but boring. Colourful, fun, and it really does taste delicious. This is one of the favorites here. Now this next one is called a Virgin Ripple. This one takes a little bit more work, but it is well worth it. It's one of my personal creations, and I love it. We start off with some Bone Mama raspberry jam, which is available at the grocery store. It's delicious stuff. I say that word a lot. Get in there for now. And then we take about an ounce of heavy whipping cream, and we add that in here. And then an ounce and a half of grenadine. And then a half ounce of brown simple sugar, syrup should I say, which is again 1-to-1 brown sugar and hot water. You just let it dissolve. Half ounce of lemon juice. And then we shake it all up. This one gets a real shake. Excuse me while I do an arm workout. And she's very pink. And then she is double strained into a coupe glass to give us an elegant look. off with a raspberry leaf in the spring and summer. There we go. Like I say, we have an alcoholic version of this one here, and it was one of my creations, which I'm very proud of. So it's best to come and see us here and enjoy it with us. That is the Virgin Ripple. And then we're going to make a virgin or a mocktail version of a Moscow Mule, which again, simple yet fun and well worthwhile. So we get ourselves a mule cup. Mules are not typically shaken or stirred or anything like that. We just make it, build it in the glass, and then as you drink it, you get all the flavors. So again, some of our brown simple in the cup. Some lime juice. I do about 3/4 of each of these, 3/4 of an ounce of each. And then we top it off with some ginger beer, which again we can get at the grocery store. And it's that simple. A lime garnish and 2 straws. Simple and wonderful. And then our last one, I've saved the best for last, is an espresso martini. But made non-alcoholic. We are pretty well known at Miller's for our espresso martini, so being able to come up with a non-alcoholic version is keep a lot of people happy. So again, we start off with our brown simple, and then we have some freshly made espresso, and then we have some just normal instant coffee, and then we shake all those together. Just want a touch more of the instant coffee. You want to shake these together nice and hard because it gives it a lovely creamy foam that will lay on top of the glass. And again, we're going to double strain this to get rid of some of the bubbles. I want that nice creaminess. And then that is topped off with our secret recipe. You can't have this. Our heavy whipping cream. And it just gets a little bit on top just to interrupt that crema. And then it has 3 coffee beans. They just sit right on top. And if you do the cream right, it should sit right on top, so you get a lovely 3 layers and should look very pretty and taste even better. So you've seen the 5 of our delicious mocktails that we have currently on our menu. We will probably be adding some more to the menu, to the list, to keep everybody happy and excited. Please come down and see us here, Miller's on Trade, and we can help you out with any of our mocktails or any of our other real drinks, and hopefully play some games and we can have some fun. Thank you so much.
Chris was an absolute delight. He was so fun. And, a lot of time the chefs and the bartenders, different people that you really see a lot in the public, um, get a little shy and a little, I don't know, teased when they're on camera. But I just need to tell you, Chris rocked it. And he was so fun and really totally enjoyed the whole process. And I'm going to give you some insider trading. That virgin ripple drink, the pink creamy one, those of you who remember what a dreamsicle tastes like, it tastes like that, only raspberry, and it is to die for. So I just want to encourage everybody, when maybe not tonight because it's a little cold and dark, but go down to Miller's and visit with Chris, because he was so fun. And he goes, I hope some of your viewers are going to come down and see me. And I said, well, I can promise you that my husband and I definitely will, because all of those mocktails were wonderful. So, and speaking of Chris's, we're going to go one street over onto Liberty Street. And it's nights like this that you don't want to get out. It's cold, it's dark. Last week it was snowy, maybe snowy again tomorrow. But there's a place downtown on Liberty Street called Roar, and it is an adult entertainment center. So there really is something for everybody at this place. There is no admission. There are just games and activities all over this beautiful restored old warehouse building on Liberty. So it's one of those things, if you want to go check it out, it doesn't cost a penny, and you can just go over there, see what's what. But it would be perfect for 3 generations of a family to go over and play, because there really is something for everybody. But I'm going to let Chris Hammer, who is the manager, I'm going to let him tell you more and give us a little tour of Roar.
Thanks, Deb. Thanks for letting us be a part of Aging Well. My name's Chris Hammer. I'm the general manager here of Roar. I'm excited to give you a tour of Roar, which is a 48,000 square foot family-friendly entertainment center. Come on in. Now we've made it inside. Excited to show you around Roar, named after the Roaring 20s. So you'll see that as a common theme as we check out all 4 floors that we have here. At Roar, we have lots of great food options. We have hand-breaded chicken tenders, new items such as a buffalo shrimp wrap. We also have handmade pizzas made to order in our brick oven, with a newly introduced front lounge dining room that offers full service with a wait staff that can tend to all your needs. The way our food is served is it's self-served out of a kiosk where you order your food, and then we have the entire building you can eat in. We also serve and run food directly to our bowling lanes, in addition, like I said, to this front lounge that has a restaurant-style atmosphere. Plenty of options for beverage here at Roar, in addition to our 4 full-service bars. We have all kinds of non-alcoholic vending machines placed throughout the entire building. In addition, we have something that's pretty cool where we have 30 beers, wines, seltzers, ciders, all on tap for our self-service beer wall. We like to call this an off-the-wall experience. Each one of these iPads controls the 6 taps that are closest to it, and you just go to one of our gurus, you get yourself a card that'll activate this wall, and everything is tracked per ounce. So you can have as much or as little as you'd like. It's a great way to test out new things that you've never had, sample stuff that you've only read about, hadn't had experience yet. But this is available actually on 3 of our 4 floors, the same 30 beers. So we actually have 90 taps just on the beer wall alone. Right now we're on the Roarcade level, which is the entry level. When you come into the building, this is going to be the first level that you see. It is filled with just shy of 40 different games, everything from ranging from super kid-friendly stuff that wins every single time on a claw game or candy, to dancing, to air hockey, to virtual reality things. It's truly made for all ages. You can have the whole family have fun here just on this one level. For instance, this is a popular duck game both with kids and Jeep owners right now, but this is one where you swipe your card and you can't lose. It lets you go as many times as you want. Same thing with our candy game right here. These claw games, unlike some carnival games, you can't lose on these. Roar truly has entertainment for everyone. We have games that run the full gamut, for games for little kids to games for adults and friends. It's a great place for full families to come and turn the kids loose and let them have a good time, or for a group of friends to come and challenge each other to games of skee ball, for instance. We have a lot of different games for everyone here. Well, Deb, we've made it down to our twisted putter level, excuse me. This is where a game guru would normally be. They can get you all set up with our 2 full courses of twisted putter, and what I like to tell people is it's kind of like putt-putt and skee ball had a baby. They are different, each hole is a different level of difficulty, but it's not based on your skill set as a golfer, so it truly does make it entertaining for everybody to play. It's based on bonus points and all that kind of stuff, and speed, not necessarily your skill set. You can tell have a good time if you're not a pro golfer. Deb, here's one of our holes. This one is called the launcher. Now this is 1 hole out of 2 9-hole courses that we have downstairs. But you would start right here, hit your ball in. If you can actually make it into that hole, it'll give you bonus points. If you miss it, it'll still go down. An air compressor will shoot this up, and as you can see, each one of where it lands has different point values. It drops it off behind this machine, where there are also 2 more holes. Depending on which one you get in will also determine your point value. It's entertaining to see when it's live. Thankfully, we're on a snow day, so you get to see everything without people in it, but it helps us show you guys around. We've made it up to level 2 in Roar, and as you'll see, each floor is themed very differently and has a different atmosphere. This is truly the Roaring 20s. We are in the Mayfair Club right now, which specializes in good homemade, handcrafted cocktails. In addition to, we have a dance floor out here, and we have lots of live music up on this level every weekend for sure. Here's another level that we have the self-serve, I pour it off the wall experience with 30 different taps. Here's a little bit more about what we have on level 2. On this level, we have 6 different sports simulators. A lot of people are familiar with a golf simulator, but ours actually features 16 different games. You can pop balloons with darts, to play lacrosse, to zombie dodgeball on all of these sports simulators. We also have 10 lanes of mini pin bowling. A lot of people call that duck pin bowling, that are also available. As we talked about before, we have plenty of non-alcoholic beverages that are on each level. There's a lot going on here, and lots of entertainment for families. This level also features 10 lanes of mini pin bowling, which uses a small ball and small pins. A lot of people call it duck pin bowling. This is our boutique bowling level. These are sold by the hour, so it's not about how many games you can play. It's not, you're not pacing yourself like that. You can take your time and just enjoy as many games as you can get for as long as you'd like. It tracks everything for you. Keeps score up on these TVs up here. Everything's tracked for you. I hope I got to show you a little bit about what Roar has to offer. Some of the things that we haven't seen is we still have a full roof, which also has live entertainment during the right season. Right now with the snow, it's a little cold to show you that. We also have a dog park outside and a full patio. We have a very big facility that is free to come in. You pay as you go. You pick and choose what you'd like to do and enjoy yourselves. I appreciate having the opportunity to show you. Thanks, Deb. Thanks again for letting us be a part of Aging Well.
You know, it looks like, seems like would be a fun place. As adults, we can all go act like kids, be silly like kids, and have fun like kids. Because honestly, why should kids have all the fun? You know, when I'm with my two grandsons, they always laugh and go, Nani, you would get us into so much trouble. I said, you're absolutely right. Where's the fun in not getting in trouble? Good trouble, not too bad, but you know what? I'm silly and goofy and love to have fun. So maybe we can make a plan and maybe we can have an Aging Well night out or day out sometime down at Roar. I would absolutely love it. I would challenge all of you to a bowling game, and I promise you, you would all win because I will say one time I was in a bowling contest in Utah and I won a trophy for the most gutter balls. So I know the luck would be on your side if you wanted to play me, play against me in bowling. So we would have fun. But you know what? I am so looking forward to hearing our speaker for tonight. Because even though we're a little further into 2025, it is certainly not too late to be thinking about what types of goals we want to set for the whole upcoming year. And the topic is setting and keeping healthy goals for 2025. She is a friend, a colleague, and you're going to enjoy hearing her because, you know, you talk about setting goals, New Year's resolutions, and it's like, yeah. You know, it's easy to set a goal. She's going to show us the science behind setting and keeping goals. So Chanel Edwards Hampton, Dr. Chanel Edwards Hampton, is going to give us a tour about how to set meaningful goals and then how to keep them. So Chanel, take it away.
All right, can you see my slides?
No, not yet.
Hang on, let me make sure I'm doing everything correctly here. Okay.
And I have to brag on Chanel because about an hour ago, she called me with a flat tire and her sweet husband came and rescued her and is picking up their children so she could be here with you tonight. So that's dedication.
Let me make sure I'm figuring out how to share my content. Here we go. Apologize for the technical.
Hey, at least we're on tonight. Last week, we couldn't even do that.
That's right. Okay, are we here? Does that look right?
If you can hit the start from, yeah, there we go. Perfect.
All right. So thank you so much, Deb, for that warm introduction and that candid disclosure around some of the challenges that I've endured this evening. But at the end of the day, I'm so glad to be here. I'm so honored to be invited and really excited to try to talk as an adjunct to all the great drink recipes that Chris provided, as well as also ways to think about how to incorporate Roar into your life and maybe future opportunities. So what I'd like to talk about is just setting and keeping healthy goals, which seems like a really sort of basic and silly easy thing to do, but it's actually not. It's really hard to set goals and keep them, which fortunately at the beginning of the year, I think most of us are aware of that, right? Like we set goals at the beginning of the year, and by like week 3, 4, maybe even now, we're forgetting them by July, or like we don't even know what goals we set. They evade our mind. There's some social pressure and some I don't know, some activation around setting goals at this time of year, but often they don't stick. And that is absolutely normal and absolutely discouraging sometimes. And so I want to talk about ways we can set goals and actually think about maybe keeping them, especially if they're important to us. So I also want to talk about setting goals that are important to us, that we value, that are consistent with what matters to us in life. And in that vein, I want to talk about the fact that like there's always opportunity to set goals. I had a friend once who was like, I had a colonoscopy and that changed my life and basically was like the catalyst for creating all kinds of goals and doing all kinds of new things. And so even though we're at the beginning of the year where there's a lot of, you know, social and environmental pressure to like set new goals and whatnot, I also want to just remind you, and I hope that you think about this throughout the year, that there's opportunities, catalysts, invitations to set goals all year long. And it doesn't have to be the new year to do that. But right now it does happen to be the new year. And so I invite you to embrace that invitation to think about what's important to you and what do you want to accomplish in the next month, 12 months, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever. Oh, another thing I also wanted to minimize. Hang on. Let's see what I'm sharing, but I just lost it. I'm sorry.
Chanel, do you need something?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up. I'm not very savvy with this stuff. Hang on 1 second. Okay, I think I got it. Also wanted to highlight that Leonardo DiCaprio here has a mocktail. All right, a little bit of background to bolster your buy-in. There's actually a lot of science behind the benefit of goal setting. And it goes back to capitalism, the drive to make a dollar, the drive to improve employee productivity. So back in the early 1960s or late 1960s, early 1970s, Locke and Latham did a lot of research related to how can we motivate employees to be productive, what matters to them, how can we help them set goals that they actually are motivated to achieve, again, within the context of their employment, but still valuable information for us. And that's actually really informed what we know today about goal setting and what motivates us as even individuals to set goals that are valuable, meaningful, and that are intentional, where we're more likely to achieve them. Yeah. So Edward Locke and Gary Latham summarized over 35 years of empirical scientific evidence in support of the effectiveness of goal setting to maximize, like I said, employee motivation. But that stuff is very applicable to all of us today. in our own goal setting and ways to activate and motivate ourselves. The other thing I'll say is at a more individual level, outside of sort of like, you know, the science of it and how, I mean, really, like, these guys were involved in industry and promoting industry. But at the end of the day, I think there's really no way to put a price on witnessing yourself succeed and the value in that. And there's so many intrinsic benefits to being successful. You're modeling to other folks, you're helping yourself do better, achieve more. You're, yeah, like I said, like being a witness to your environment. There are so many benefits to at an individual level being successful. It increases your level of confidence. It grows your motivation. Yeah. So at the sort of capitalistic economic level, there's a lot of benefit to increasing productivity, but I also think at the individual level, it's a priceless achievement to set goals and achieve them. So backing up a little bit, let's talk about what were our terms, like what are we actually talking about? So I think I'm going to go a little bit backwards here, but I think one of the things that's actually really critical to start with is values. So values are the beliefs and principles that guide how people you live and act. I think values are incredibly important in thinking about and driving your goals. I think folks that, and research supports this, folks that have goals that are founded in their values and driven by their values are much more likely to achieve those goals. So I think identifying what's important to you, what do you care about in life, what matters, what drives you, which goes to motivation, the internal state that drives people to act in order to achieve a goal. Those things are incredibly important in your identification of goals. And the reason I take time to talk about this is, like I said before, you're more likely to achieve goals that are aligned with your values and those things that motivate you. If I set a goal to, I don't know, a random goal like, I don't know, make money for the desk in front of me, I have no motivation to actually do that. I don't think it's valuable. I don't think it's important. And I'm just not likely to accomplish that. The other thing is that there are intrinsic goals and extrinsic goals, or intrinsic or extrinsic motivations. Both are important and valuable, but based on the research, the things that are more intrinsic, that are more connected to what we feel like is important in life rather than just something that we can get out of life. So internally rewarding versus externally rewarding. Externally rewarding would be extrinsic, internally rewarding would be intrinsic. The intrinsic things tend to be goals we're more likely to achieve. Because in general, they tend to be more consistent with our values and we tend to be more motivated to achieve. Extrinsic goals also can be and are valuable, but we tend to not be as driven to meet those goals. All right, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of things. So there are 5 pretty simple but not always easy, science-supported strategies for setting a goal and optimizing your likelihood of achieving that. So, and one of the things that's helpful about this is that there's actually an acronym for each. So they're called SMART goals. And the way that I like to define them, because it makes sense to me, as specific, measurable, attainable, realistic and relevant, and timely. I'll talk about each one in more detail. So going back to value identification. When it comes to specific, your values will really help you identify goals that are meaningful to you and that you have a higher intrinsic motivation to achieve. And we know that we're more likely to achieve goals that are in line with our values and that we're intrinsically motivated to achieve. One thing that can be really helpful in identifying value-based and intrinsically motivated goals are asking yourself who, what, where, when, why. Who will this help if I reach this goal? Why do I care about helping this person? What will change if I achieve this goal? And why do I care about change in this area? Where will I make a difference? When will I make a difference? When will I make a difference? There's also the how will I make a difference? But asking yourself actually those sort of W questions around how, why it's important to you can be really helpful in you identifying a meaningful goal that you're likely to achieve. Also, thinking about proactive problem solving. So in advance, what are the things that are likely to help me be successful? What's in my environment that's going to support this specific goal or agenda? What's in my environment that's not going to help me achieve this specific goal or agenda? And what are the barriers? And if there are barriers, what can I do to help try to minimize or avoid or use my resources to get around those barriers? How can I optimize my likelihood of success in achieving this goal in advance? So really thinking about what are the things that are working for me? What are the things that are working against me? How can I sort of move the odds in my favor is a really valuable endeavor. Measurable. So here we're getting down really to the nitty and gritty. Like many of us say, oh, my goal is to exercise more regularly, more frequently, more often. What we need, what we know based on the science is that measurable goals, having it tied to something much more measurable and specific, makes a difference. So that's what regularly means frequently. I mean, regularly, if I only exercised once last year, more regularly might be twice this year. More frequently might be the twice this year. No, let's really sort of get into the nitty gritty. Are we going to exercise hourly? Probably not. Daily? Maybe. Weekly? Probably. Monthly? Hopefully. Yearly? Hopefully. And that's just with regard to exercise, but it really depends on your goal and what you're trying to achieve. But be specific, be intentional around what, and know how to measure. How will you know if you actually reached your goal? If you don't have measures, you don't. Attainable. So attainable is often confused with realistic. And the way that I help folks think about attainable is it even possible, right? So like my favorite example around this is, and forgive me, but I find that like the easiest example is around weight. So one example might be, next week, I'd like to lose 60 pounds before my high school, my 20-year high school reunion. Well, that's like a great goal in theory, but it's really not possible because I have 20 pounds to lose. Unless I start cutting off limbs, legs, there's really no way to achieve it. It's not even attainable. So setting unattainable goals is a really great way to set yourself up for failure. So is what you're trying to achieve, is the goal that you're setting even attainable? Is it even possible? And then the next question is it realistic? So it might be attainable for me to be Person of the Year on Time Magazine next year. Maybe it's attainable. Maybe it's not attainable. Maybe it's possible. Is it likely? No. Probably not ever going to happen. It's an unrealistic goal. It could happen, probably not going to. So we want to set goals that are attainable and also realistic. What can we achieve? What's within our grasp? What we know from goal setting science is that small, realistic goals that we can build on are the ones that are going to help us be successful and build on that success. You want to start where you have to reach a little, but not a ton, and not where you have to not reach at all. So you want to find sort of that goal in the middle area. You want to set a goal in the middle area where you have to stretch a little, but not overextend. Those are the ones that are most likely to be rewarding when you meet them and motivate you to set more goals. And that's what I mean by find the sweet spot, shoot for the stars, but not the moon. The other thing is timely. So I have the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland here. It's really important that you have a start date for your goal and you have an end date. And those of us who have set New Year's resolutions countless times, and they've started the first dish, and then never had an end date, but never really had a start date either. The first week, the first day, the first Monday, whatever. We all know, we've all been there. We all know that it's really important to have an actual start date and an actual end date. And what the science tells us is that it's best if that start and end date is within a relatively short period of time, at least to start. And by relatively short period of time, I mean within the first, or within, not the first, it doesn't have to start at the beginning of the year, but I'd say within 3 to 6 weeks. The reason it's important to have a start date is when to start looking at the data, assessing when to start making changes, and when to go back and look and see how successful have I been, where have there been challenges, where have there been barriers. We want an end date because it's so valuable to be able to look back and say, where did things maybe go sideways? Where were there challenges? What worked in my favor? What was a barrier to my success? I think more than anything, really one of the most valuable parts of setting goals is the data you can learn from having a start date and end date and looking at the goal and then saying what worked, what didn't, and how can I move forward and mitigate any barriers in the future. I really feel like the data collection is invaluable. So, and it's really hard to do that. And pretty much no one does if you don't have a start date and an end date. So I think I've already touched on that a little bit. I said more to come, but I think I got ahead of myself because um, I think the data collection is so important. The value of taking ownership. So I think, you know, the other part that's really important is taking ownership over your goals. This is what is important to me. This is what I value. I'm setting it for these reasons. And if you have a hard time meeting those goals, then coming back to those values, reassessing, and really keeping it close to your chest in terms of what's important to you. This danger of exclusive focus on external rewards is what I was mentioning before. If all we care about is some sort of external variable, even the number on the scale, weight loss, once we've achieved that, then we really run the risk of no longer being motivated to maintain that goal, because the reward, the carrot we were chasing is gone, or in our mouth or our lap or whatever. And so I think it's always really helpful to think about, how can I create intrinsic rewards for myself? Maybe even in ways that aren't obvious. So maybe initially your external reward was that number on the scale, but maybe your ongoing intrinsic reward is increased ability to be active, to climb this mountain, to do this rope course, to, you know, go to this park with your grandchildren, that sort of thing. The other thing that we see consistently in the research is the benefit of social support and community and healthcare providers, getting them on board. So what we've seen is the most sort of productive outcome for achieving goals is the collaborative approach that includes individuals and their loved ones, and ideally their healthcare providers too. But the more folks you can get to buy into your new goals, lifestyle approach, the better. The better your outcomes are going to be based on the research and the science we see. Long-term goals are really important and valuable too, but what we see as most important is focusing on the short-term goals first, and then sort of transitioning those short-term goals into maintenance / long-term goals, or having long-term goals where immediate outcomes aren't as critical as the short-term goals. So long-term goals are important and valuable, and definitely it's very good to get support from loved ones and your community and healthcare providers and whatnot, but they tend to have less of an impact on the individual and on short-term outcomes than long-term goals. So start with those small ones and then move up to the longer-term goals. I mentioned this before, once you've crossed the finish line, once you've reached your end date for your goal, revisit your goal, review it, revise it, what worked, what didn't, and then decide what's your reward. Often I think a intrinsic and extrinsic reward is indicated. So you might decide to treat yourself to you know, a mocktail with Chris, or you might decide to, I don't know, an intrinsic reward, like I don't know, another intrinsic, that was an extrinsic reward, or you might, think about an intrinsic reward. But in general, both are valuable. Deb, I'm not sure where I am on time. Oh, right.
You have got about 5 minutes.
Yep. Okay. All right. So here's an example of a roadmap, and I think I sent this example to Deb that she can share with the audience, as well as a one that's not filled out. This is just an example. So, at the stop, we have a timely endeavor. The start date is the 2nd of February. The end date is the 28th of February. We start by identifying a specific goal. And some leading questions are, what are your values? What is important and meaningful to you in life? What goal do you want to set that is consistent with these values? So here's just a random example. I want to thrive and continue to enjoy life in my retirement and as I age. I want to find ways to continue to remain relevant and contribute to my community now that I'm no longer working. I like to set a goal that keeps me socially active, but also involves community service. So then some of the additional leading questions that I mentioned with the kind of what, why, where, when, how. Why is this goal important to you? What are the benefits? Who do you want to be involved? When do you want to implement it? How do you want to implement it? Where? So an example is, this goal is important to me because it is consistent with my belief that it is important and valuable to participate in community, continue to engage in pleasurable activities and help others. And with regard to who, I'd like to involve my spouse in the school. So based on that sort of specific activity of setting a specific goal, right? We're thinking about SMART goals, so specific. Next, we'll move to measurable. The specific goal so far is, my goal is to engage in one new social and/or community service activity outside of the home per week. And then there's problem solving. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail because of limited time, but basically this is what I talked about before. What are the things that are likely to facilitate success in this specific goal that we've identified thus far? What are barriers, and what might be a plan to mitigate those barriers? So if I remember correctly, there was some potential barriers to or some things that are likely to facilitate success or support from community and loved ones. Barriers was weather. And so plan to mitigate barriers, were coming up with some ways to get friends involved, and then alternative ideas when the weather is not permitting around being more active and social in the community. So then we got to measurable. How often will you practice your new goal? For how long? How many days of the week or month? So the new sort of more specific and measurable goal, right? We're thinking SMART goal. So SM, SMART goal. Engage in one new social and/or community service activity for 2 to 3 hours outside of the home every week in the month of February. If there is significant barrier to me engaging in activity outside of home, I will do something online. Is this goal attainable? Yes, I typically have the physical ability and energy level to engage in a social activity 1 time per week. And there are a lot of community service opportunities around me, and I can drive myself. So yeah, it's attainable. Is it realistic? Yes. not trying to, run for presidency. It's realistic. I'm capable of successfully achieving engaging in a new social or community service activity once a week for 2 to 3 hours per week outside of the home. Timely. This goes back to what we started at. Yes, there's a start date of Monday, February 3rd and end date Friday, February 28th. And then there's the SMART goal and its completion after kind of working through that whole worksheet. And this is, like I said, the whole thing's an example, but an extrinsic reward might be, I will treat myself to dinner at a steakhouse, and intrinsic rewards might be keeping my brain and body active, learning new things, making new friendships, joy from helping others, feeling like I'm relevant and a valuable contributor to my community. And then, sorry, just to go back, once this, hypothetical person reaches their goal, the idea would be on the 28th to go back and revisit, review, revise, and then make sure they actually give themselves those extrinsic rewards and identify the ways that those intrinsic rewards have benefited them or not too. So I think I'm right at the end. Certainly available for questions, comments.
So I have a question for you that's already popped up. Is it helpful to share your goals with others so that they can help you stay accountable?
Yeah, so short answer is yes, but I will also say that's a tricky question because if you share it with someone who's not supportive of your goal or your values, then sometimes they can be foe and not friend, right? So my advice is think carefully about who you share your goals with, and make sure that they are at the end of the day in line with what you're trying to achieve or what your values are in life. Because sometimes we can make the assumption, and I think our world and our religious community or just pop psychology in general can convince us that we should always reach out to friends and they're always going to be valuable and helpful, but that's actually not always the case. Sometimes we have friends that unfortunately can be more foe than friends in our certain goals. So I wouldn't assume that everyone's going to be helpful, and I would try to, sort of assess whether their values around weight loss or being more active or drinking less or whatever it is are consistent with yours before you assume that they're going to be supportive.
Okay. Well, it looks like you have done a beautiful job of sharing these ideas with us. And I want to thank y'all for being a part of Aging Well. And like Dr. Chanel said, I have got her worksheets that I'm going to be sharing with you after this gets loaded onto the website, to the School of Medicine website. So be looking for this follow-up information. And I just want to thank you. I want to thank everybody for being a part of this. Thank you, Dr. Edwards-Hampton, for being a part. You were wonderful. And look forward to being with you on February 11th. I want an early Valentine's Day with everybody right here. Hopefully, everything's going to work great. That's my goal. That's my immediate and long-term goal, that this is going to work glitch-free moving forward. So anyway, thank you all so much, and please stay warm, stay healthy, and let us all age our very best. We'll see you next month.